Patricia ripped the therapy papers from my hands, screaming that ambulances ruin curb appeal in her perfect subdivision. My daughter Sophia, 6 years old, watched her physical therapy schedule shred into confetti on our driveway that morning. I'm Elena Marsh, single mother, federal prosecutor, raising Sophia alone after her father left when her diagnosis came. Willowbrook Estates enforced pristine rules. No fences, no clutter, no visible medical equipment ever, according to Patricia Voss. Patricia ruled the HOA board like a queen, finding neighbors for mailbox colors, weed height, even holiday lights. Sophia's cerebral palsy required a wheelchair ramp, a therapy van, and weekly visits nobody in Willowbrook wanted seeing. I kept my job quiet, wanting neighbors to know me as Sophia's mom, not the government lady. The therapy van parked outside twice weekly, and Patricia complained it attracted undesirables to her spotless street. She sent 3 warning letters demanding I hide the ramp behind lattice, calling it an eyesore nobody asked for. I explained ADA protections politely. Patricia rolled her eyes, insisting rules are rules, disability or not. Neighbors whispered Patricia once forced a veteran to remove his flag because it violated color guidelines. That morning, running late, I left Sophia's appointment folder on the porch table while loading her wheelchair. Patricia marched over uninvited, snatched the folder, and demanded I control that display of dysfunction. I asked her to return the papers. She tore them instead, laughing at my daughter's stunned little face. Sophia burst into tears, and something inside me went cold, calm, dangerously quiet. The courtroom voice took over. "You just destroyed a disabled child's medical documents," I said. Patricia smirked. "Sue me, sweetheart, I own this board." She filed a formal HOA complaint against me for unauthorized medical loitering on community property that same afternoon. The board, terrified of Patricia, fined me $500 for the therapy van's unsightly presence near the clubhouse. I appealed calmly, citing federal disability law. Patricia dismissed my letter, tossing it straight into recycling. She posted flyers around the neighborhood warning residents about special needs traffic, lowering everyone's property values. Sophia asked why the mean lady hated her wheelchair. I promised her mommy would fix everything somehow. Patricia escalated, hiring a tow truck to remove the therapy van obstructing a driveway that was legally mine. I watched through the window as Sophia's lifeline got hooked, chained, and dragged away like garbage. The therapist canceled that week's session. Sophia's hard-won walking progress stalled because of one woman's cruelty. I filed a police report. Officers shrugged, calling it a civil HOA matter, not their jurisdiction. Patricia bragged at a board meeting that she'd finally solved the eyesore problem plaguing Willowbrook Estates. Other parents pulled me aside quietly, whispering Patricia had bullied 3 other disabled families out already. One mother showed me texts where Patricia called special needs kids liability magnets, ruining resale value forever. I started documenting everything, photos, dates, threats, habits 20 years as a prosecutor had drilled into me. Patricia noticed me photographing the torn papers and sneered, "Nobody's coming to save you, Ms. Marsh." For 2 weeks, things went quiet. Patricia seemed satisfied, strutting past my ramp with smug little smiles. I used the calm to rebuild Sophia's routine, driving her myself, watching her therapist rebuild lost progress. I also quietly requested certain federal files, cross-referencing Willowbrook Estates with an unrelated case sitting on my desk. A name kept surfacing in both files, Patricia Voss, HOA president, and something far bigger than mailbox fines. Turns out Patricia's husband ran a construction company, bidding on federal housing contracts my office was investigating. The torn therapy papers weren't random cruelty. Patricia wanted disabled families gone before federal inspectors toured the property. Wheelchair ramps and medical vans meant accessibility violations her husband's non-compliant construction couldn't legally hide anymore. Every family she'd bullied out erased evidence the development never met ADA building codes from the start. I realized Sophia's torn papers were collateral damage in Patricia's much larger, much dirtier cover-up scheme. Patricia doubled down, calling an emergency meeting to vote disabled residents non-compliant with community aesthetic standards. She proposed a bylaw banning visible medical apparatus, clearly targeting Sophia's ramp, wheelchair, and everything we needed. I stood at that meeting, introduced only as Elena Marsh, concerned resident, letting Patricia underestimate me completely. She mocked me publicly, saying disabled children don't belong in a community built for successful families. The room gasped. Even her allies looked uncomfortable. but nobody dared challenge Patricia's iron grip openly. I smiled thinly, said nothing, and let her keep talking herself deeper into a recorded, witnessed hole. That night, Patricia's assistant, guilt-ridden, slipped me a folder of unpaid contractor invoices and forged inspection reports. The construction company had skipped fire suppression, accessibility ramps, and emergency exits across 4 separate buildings. Patricia had personally signed off on falsified inspection paperwork submitted to federal housing authorities 8 months earlier. My hands shook reading it, not from fear but recognition. This was federal fraud, my exact specialty. I called my office, requesting an official case file be opened under my supervision, effective immediately. Patricia, unaware, kept harassing me, leaving a note. "Get that wheelchair off my street by Friday." I photographed the note, added it to evidence, and finally quietly let my real job take over. Friday arrived. Patricia stood smugly by the mailboxes, waiting to watch me drag my daughter's ramp away. Instead, 2 unmarked federal vehicles rolled slowly into Willowbrook Estates, parking directly outside her pristine front lawn. Neighbors peeked through blinds, whispering, confused why suits were walking briskly toward Patricia's manicured front door. Patricia laughed nervously, assuming it was a delivery mix-up, still clutching her clipboard of HOA violations. I stepped out of my car in a dark suit, badge visible, walking calmly toward my own front porch. Patricia's face shifted from confusion to disbelief as she finally recognized the woman she'd bullied for months. "You're a lawyer," she stammered. I corrected her evenly. "Assistant United States Attorney, actually Ms. Voss." Her clipboard slipped from trembling hands, violation notices scattering across the same driveway where papers once tore. I nodded to the agents, who approached her husband's truck, warrants in hand, evidence bags ready. "This is about the ramp fine," Patricia insisted weakly, backing toward her door, voice cracking with panic. "This is about federal housing fraud, falsified inspections, and civil rights violations," I replied, calm and final. Agents began cataloging documents from her home office, the same office where she'd drafted discriminatory bylaws weeks earlier. Neighbors gathered on lawns, watching Willowbrook's untouchable queen crumble under handcuffs glinting in the afternoon sun. Patricia screamed my name, demanding explanations, as agents read her rights beside her precious rose garden. "You tore up my disabled daughter's therapy papers," I said, while hiding a fraud scheme worth millions. Her husband exited the garage, saw the agents, and immediately began confessing, desperate to avoid worse charges. Turns out Patricia knew about the ADA violations for over a year, silencing every family who noticed. The forged inspections had already caused 2 minor structural collapses, injuries hidden through hush payments and threats. One elderly resident's balcony had partially collapsed last spring, quietly settled with cash and strict silence. Patricia's aesthetic standards campaign was never about beauty. It was covering evidence before federal auditors arrived unannounced. The other bullied families, hearing the news, arrived one by one, adding their own documented harassment stories. What started as torn therapy papers became the thread unraveling an entire fraudulent construction empire overnight. Reporters swarmed Willowbrook by evening. Patricia's smiling HOA newsletter photo now framed every local news segment. The board, terrified, voted unanimously to dissolve Patricia's presidency before agents even finished loading their evidence van. Sophia watched from our porch, confused, as the woman who mocked her wheelchair sobbed into a patrol car. Patricia faced federal fraud charges, conspiracy counts, and lost everything. Her home, her title, her manicured reputation entirely. Willowbrook rewrote its bylaws that year, adding full ADA protections, thanks to families Patricia once tried erasing. Sophia rides her new ramp proudly now, therapy folder intact, while Patricia mails hollow apology letters from prison.